good stick. Good topic, I like it. Like some water, Lachlan? Oh, why not? Thank you so much.
Okay, we might get started. Good morning to you all. My name is Tony Hewitt. I'm the Chair of the Board of Debating SA. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, their beliefs and their relationship with the land. As Chair of the Board of Debating SA, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 2014 Year 9 Grand Final. Today is the conclusion of another great season of competition. I commend all debaters who have taken part this year, and I hope that along the way, you, our debaters today, and all of your colleagues have learned about and improved your skills in the art and the craft of debating. Debating provides enormous opportunities to develop a wide range of life skills, such as research and analysis, clear thinking, often under pressure, teamwork, thinking about and seeing different perspectives on topical issues, developing confidence in speaking in front of peers and others, and on the journey, having a great sense of enjoyment with your colleagues. Debating SA remains committed to promoting and supporting debating as a very valuable and worthwhile skill for our young people. This year we've had 180 teams representing 47 schools across the government, Catholic and independent sectors. We've been honoured to have had the support and patronage of Mr Kevin Scarce for a number of years in his capacity as Governor of South Australia. We look forward to this continuing with the new Governor, His Excellency Hugh Van Lay. All teams taking part in today's Grand Finals will be presented with a medallion of recognition at a ceremony hosted by the new South Australian Governor at Government House on Thursday the 30th of October, and you've received details of that already. I offer sincere thanks to James Tran and Sonia Lowen for their unstinting commitment and hard work in organising and running our program, as well as providing great training and resources for all of our schools. We thank the army of parents, coaches, teachers, adjudicators, families and helpers, you, who have all provided support in various ways throughout the year for our debaters. We thank all our host schools for so generously making available their facilities. And what better place to be today to hear our top debaters than in this, our very own House of Assembly chamber in the Parliament of South Australia, a wonderful and powerful symbol of democracy and free speech. It's much better than the football. We're very grateful to the Honourable Chris Picton, Member for Kaurna, along with his parliamentary colleagues, for kindly and generously facilitating our use of this facility today. Could I remind the debaters and the audience, please don't switch on the microphones, otherwise you'll be heard. And secondly, we are asked not to open the drawers, there may be state secrets in them, so please respect that. All the very best to our two Grand Final teams today. I'm sure we're in for a very enjoyable and engaging exchange of ideas, so without further ado, let the debating begin.
Hoping to convince you of the truth of this morning's topic is the affirmative team from Pembroke School, consisting of Nate Kamata, Millie Wheaton, Daniel Gage Brown. Trying to show you that this morning's topic is false is the negative team from Prince Alfred College, consisting of Peter Mortzes, Chilo Conklin, and William Dodsworth. This Grand Final debate will be judged by a panel of 5 adjudicators who are Ms. Alicia Yan, Mr. Pembroke, Mr. David Morton, Mr. Simon Atherton, and Ms. Reem Hassani. The speaking time of this debate is 5 minutes. A single warning bell will sound at 4 minutes. and a double bell will sound at 5 minutes. If required, a continuous bell will sound 30 seconds after the second bell, indicating that the speaker must conclude their speech. I ask that all mobile phones and other electronic devices be switched off for the duration of the debate. I declare this debate open and call upon Nate Kamata to open the affirmative case.
Lewis Thomas so correctly forecast, amongst a list of things to worry about in science, along with behavioural control, transplanted heads, computer poetry, and the unrestrained growth of plastic flowers, is genetic engineering. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery. The topic for today's debate is that genetically engineered babies should be prohibited. We define the topic to mean the manipulation, modification or substitution of genes into reproductive cells or a fertilised embryo of a baby human should be prohibited. We agree with the statement. We believe that if any person is given the power to alter the genes of other humans, they will, in striving for a better or even perfect human, select for racial characteristics, sex, mental and physical features. We know all this to be morally wrong. As first speaker, I will share with you 2 points. I will detail how genetic engineering can create serious health issues to people, and the problem of a genetic caste system resulting from genetic engineering will affect our society. Our second speaker, Millie, will consider other problems of genetic engineering, including the issue of consent to the procedure and why parental control should be restricted. She will also explain the risks to individuality. Our third speaker, Daniel, will rebut the opposition and sum up our team's case. Now to my first point. A major problem with genetic engineering, not only for the affected babies, but for humanity, is that it has serious health risks and actually causes more diseases than it targets to prevent. Any alteration to someone's genes are hereditary, meaning they will have long-lasting harm which may take generations to uncover. Despite good intentions, our generation may infect future generations with intrinsically damaging genetic material. The problem escalates as doctors attempt to cure negative effects, creating more and new genetic disease. The US Genome Association says the state of knowledge in humans and other complex organisms does not allow for the controlled genetic modification of even simple cellular actions. They do not recommend such treatments, as the science remains simply unpredictable. For example, the Council of Responsible Genetics has found that other experiments carried out in mice who share 99.9% of the human genome, where genes were disrupted by the insertion of artificial genes, caused underdevelopment in other healthy parts of the animal. Also, the Council for Responsible Genetics reports of genetic engineering in certain animals using Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, a disease linked to organ overgrowth and cancer. Genetic modification is frankly not the answer to genetic disease. As to my second point, ladies and gentlemen, let us ask ourselves, what will happen to society if genetic engineering could enhance human characteristics? Lee Silver, a molecular biologist at Princeton University and author of Remaking Eden, Cloning and Beyond in a Brave New World, has made clear that with genetic engineering, a huge social divide would be created. The rich can upgrade their babies, and the poor cannot. Hence, a designer baby genetically modified to display certain desirable traits, for instance, increased intelligence or athletic ability, starting to sound a bit too Aryan and chilling. Essentially, science is providing a path through genetic modification to strive for exactly what humanity has attempted countless times to do throughout history. Perpetuation of socio-economic divisions. This is unacceptable and requires prohibition. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the unpredictability and these poor results make for a terrible mess. Ultimately, we go back to the findings of Sheldon Krimsky, a Tufts University geneticist, who concluded that if you want a tall child, marry tall.
I call upon Peter Mortzes to open the negative case.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, friends and families. Hands up those who knew the past week was Mito Awareness Week. Just as I thought, Mito Week is a global event that promotes awareness of a genetic condition called mitochondria. You've never heard of mitochondria, but you've heard of Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, diabetes, autism, and strokes. Well, there's a common culprit in all these conditions, and it's a congenital anomaly in DNA that affects the cell's power plant. It's called mitochondria, or mito. Mito is an elusive condition because it can affect any organ at any time during one's life. The news is not all bad, ladies and gentlemen, because after over 30 years of research, there is now a procedure which can replace unhealthy DNA using IVF methods. Our opponents, who argue that genetically modified babies should be prohibited, would not support babies receiving this life-changing procedure. Our opponents' argument is speculative and alarmist. We propose the following definition to guide the debate. Genetic engineering alters the DNA of an unborn child using IVF techniques that remove heritable material that promotes mitochondrial syndromes and introduces healthy DNA from outside the host in line with prevailing laws and legislation. Before I signpost our team's case, we need to rebut the points made by the first speaker. The European Union and Australia have expressly banned so-called designer babies because it is incompatible with human dignity. Have you ever been to a doctor, a dentist, a physio? Then you have interfered with nature. Ever worn a cast, taken a Panadol, or rubbed in Voltaren? Yep, interference again. Now to our case. I will argue that there should be genetically modified babies because of a baby's human right to receive the highest possible level of healthcare. It will create economic benefits, and it is a low-risk medical procedure. Sheila will present the case that genetic engineering will cure and that permission is better than outright prohibition. William, our third speaker, will summarise our strong arguments. To my first point, that genetic engineering ensures babies enjoy their human rights. Article 24 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child declares the right of children to enjoy the highest attainable standard of healthcare. This right is further declared in the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. Prohibiting genetic engineering is therefore against the human rights of babies and is in breach of our international obligations. To my second point, that it has the potential to generate huge benefits to society. Mito arises at a rate of 1 in 8,500 births in Australia. That means there are 35 babies per year that could benefit from this procedure. The ABS estimates that the average Australian creates an economic contribution of around $108,000 per year over their life. Therefore, the 35 babies per year that can dodge the mito bullet will generate a return of over $106 million to Australian society over their lives. To my final point, that the procedure can be a low-risk solution. Gene therapy has been developed for over 40 years, and there have been some 2,000 procedures, IVF procedures that are going to create superhumans, designer babies, and Frankensteins. Last year led to some 12,000 births in Australia. There are always risks with surgery, but there are also unintended side effects from taking drugs for your whole life. Ladies and gentlemen, prevention is better than a cure, and we should not prohibit genetically engineered babies. Thank you.
To continue the affirmative case, please welcome Millie Wheaton.
The opposition has portrayed genetic engineering as a treatment for genetic disease. To the contrary, there have been various studies disproving this notion. In 2003, a study by Dr. Hasan Bayabina of Paris's Children's Hospital attempted to cure the severe combined immunodeficiency of 10 children. 3 of these children rapidly developed leukemia. As is perfectly evident from this tragedy, genetic engineering is a catalyst for disease. Our third speaker will speak of the inevitability of designer babies once any genetic engineering is allowed. Genetic engineering and its morbid aftermath may sound like the plotline for a bleak dystopian blockbuster, but as much as we might like to dismiss these issues to a comfortably distant future, we cannot. Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman, I am here this morning to warn you of the ominous implications of genetic engineering for the individual. I will introduce 3 points to this debate. I will firstly stress to you that no person is in the position to approve genetic engineering in any case due to ethical and scientific reasons. I will then proceed to assert that parents have no right to call the shots on their child's development beyond adulthood. I will extend this principle to the repercussions it could invoke in the child's psychological well-being to conclude. The problems caused by genetic engineering are severe and long-lasting, as our first speaker, Nate Kamada, has explained. But who carries the blame when it all predictably goes wrong? Not the child, not the parent, not even the doctor. The answer is us. We as a race are at fault if we do not recognise our responsibility to prohibit its practice as soon as possible. An unborn embryo conceivably cannot speak. It is simply not justified that anyone but the individual being modified should make such a momentous decision that will directly affect the rest of their life and the lives of their descendants. Imagine living with the guilt that a conscious decision you made led to your own child's terminal illness. Infertility, birth defect, developmental disorder. Countless parents would become familiar with this guilt if we were to employ genetic engineering on our children. No parent in this world today can claim to possess the insight into genetic science required to be sure of the risks they would be exposing their child to through this procedure. Even doctors and scientists themselves do not have the knowledge because it simply doesn't exist yet. For this reason, the only solution is to prohibit genetic engineering in babies until there is no margin for error. I will now speak about the extent of parental control over a child's future and why it must be minimised to alleviate the risk of overstepping a precipitous moral boundary. The genetic engineering of a child by his or her parents is an infringement upon this boundary, as I will explain. The concept of nature versus nurture plays a large part in this principle, and I can never impress too heavily upon you the fact that a parent should only ever exert their influence on the nurture of their child. Nurture means simply to instill habit, knowledge, and wisdom into a child. The difference between altering a child's nurture and altering their nature, as is done through genetic engineering, is that any child is free to reject their parents' advice or teachings at any point in time. A child who is genetically engineered has no way to steer their own life, as both nature and nurture are dictated by their parents. How can we knowingly deny future generations their own free will? That's what I'd like to know. Human identity forms the basis for my third argument, and is a key issue in this debate, as genetic modification in babies threatens to discard it. Immanuel Kant, a prominent philosopher of the 18th century, stated that humanity should not be treated as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. For this precise reason, the genetic modification of unborn embryos is ethically degrading to an individual's innate worth. If a parent demands their child meet certain standards, obscene amounts of expectation and pressure are placed on their young mind, and the unconditional love a parent should assume, despite their child's height, gender, or intelligence, is called into question. Genetic modification of babies also promotes the adoption of a form of genetic determinism. This concept limits a person's aspirations to those predefined by their genetic inheritance. In a world where each and every child is purpose-built, kids won't take the same pride in their achievements, because with their professionally modified genes always at the back of their minds, they will see it as out of their hands. More importantly, what about the ones who can't afford the genes for an A in maths or a gold in 100 metres? As you can see, even the prospect of success in genetic engineering is grim. Genetic engineering has no place in a society not equipped to apply it safely or responsibly. Ladies and gentlemen, hear me when I say that it is not possible to support the progress of the human race while simultaneously supporting the genetic modification of its children and therefore its future. Thank you.
To continue the negative case, please welcome Chilo Conley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Any worries about genetic engineering is unnecessary. Genetic mutation has always been happening anyway, said Dr. James Lovelock, the Gaia theory founder. Before I come to my points, I would like to enlighten you to some of the affirmative team's fallacies. The affirmative team stated that if we do not prohibit GE babies, then we will allow parents to modify their children to create designer babies to ensure desirable traits. And also, therefore, it is also unethical. This is wrong because we would like to reinstate our definition for this debate, that GE babies are not for enhancement purposes, as defined by the affirmative team, but they are for medical needs because we base our proposition on the current state of technology and societal needs. Therefore, the enhancement baby issue brought up by the affirmative team and the ethical issues is irrelevant. The affirmative team has also stated that it is unsafe to have GE babies. This is wrong because the UK authority has concluded that it is not unsafe, and that this will be detailed in my main arguments. Ladies and gentlemen, genetically engineered babies should not be prohibited because firstly, genetic engineering can prevent genetic diseases in humans that cannot be done in any other way. According to the journal Nature, 1.5 billion people worldwide have serious illnesses such as heart, liver disease, and muscular dystrophy due to mitochondrial DNA mutations. The Australian Mitochondrial Disease Foundation data shows that at least 50 children born each year in Australia have severe mitochondrial disease. Common diseases known to be caused by mitochondrial dysfunction are Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and diabetes. There are 300,000 Australians that suffer from Alzheimer's disease alone, so mitochondrial disease are common diseases. Up until this day, mitochondrial diseases has no cure, but what genetic engineering can do is to remove the diseased mitochondria from the intended mother's egg or embryo and replace it with the donor's healthy mitochondria, enabling the child to be born free of mitochondrial diseases. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only way to make sure that mitochondrial diseases are not passed down to the child by the mother. It is therefore only logical for us to not prohibit, but allow GE in humans to get rid of mitochondrial diseases. The UK government is ready to approve GE babies with this medical need. This will ultimately save more than 4,000 babies born free of genetic defects each year. In the UK, we should learn from the UK's experience to allow for GE babies to save our Australian families. Now this leads me to my final point, that permission for GE babies is definitely a better approach than outright prohibition. Prohibition means that we're dismissing all sorts of reasons for GE, including the medical need for health as shown in my earlier argument. Ladies and gentlemen, outright prohibition should never be acceptable. In advancing science to clinical practice, many considerations have been taken. There's no evidence to show that GE is unsafe. On the contrary, the UK Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority has conducted 3 independent reviews to scrutinize the safety of mitochondrial replacement technique. They concluded that the technique is not unsafe. BBC News on the 31st of August this year reported that there are already 30 people worldwide who are born as a result of GE technology. The featured news was the then GE baby, who is now a normal, healthy teenage girl. Like any other current medical procedures, mitochondrial replacement GE technique may involve uncertainty. However, all current human reproduction that is unaided by GE technology equally involves much uncertainty. As pointed out by the Professor Farhani at Duke University. This is because genome variance in human natural reproduction is always unpredictable. Therefore, the Genetics and Public Policy Center at Johns Hopkins University pointed out that strict legislation and safety procedures are what we need, but not prohibition. With parents being fully informed of the potential risks, we should allow GE babies. In conclusion, it is unjust to prohibit GE babies and to watch our families suffer. Parents have the right to decide which options to take, whether to leave the fate to Mother Nature or choose disease-free and healthy GE babies.
To conclude the affirmative case, I call upon Daniel Gage Brown.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The opposition has frequently brought up mitochondrial disease and in fact seems to have based the foundation of their case on this individual disease. However, mitochondrial disease is extremely rare and can often cause no problems in a person's lifetime. It's much better to look at other options which are proven to be safe and can be taken at a safe rate to cure mitochondrial disease rather than prevention in this case. Because, as Nate has told you countless times, the curing of diseases with genetic engineering can cause more problems than it seeks to prevent. The first negative, also told you that people have a right to health. However, they don't when the risk outweighs any possible benefits. The risks involved with genetic engineering are hereditary and might not show any signs for generations, by which times hundreds of people could be infected with genetic diseases rather than just 35 a year in Australia. We accept that the UN might have rules to ensure that people get the best healthcare possible. However, it's also important to note the universally accepted medical ethos, golden rule, first do no harm. So as I must restate, the risks outweigh any possible benefits and will be passed on to many people. All rules must be applied, such as the UN's, with honesty and foresight. The opposition has also proposed that genetic engineering of babies should be allowed. Thankfully, I'm here to tell you that this is not feasible to try and regulate genetic engineering of babies, or even favourable. As soon as the technology is permitted and endorsed by governments, it is available for wide use and unethical experimentation. Regardless of whether the negative standpoint supports it, parents can find illegitimate and private companies to enhance their children and build them in their image. This relates directly to Nate's point on a genetic caste system. It is also important that I remind you that in any form of genetic engineering there is danger, whether it's for enhancement or medical reasons. And the second negative told you that it's been proven that genetic engineering of babies is not unsafe. However, no official trial with an ethics committee has ever been conducted on humans to find out whether it's safe. So nothing can be said on that, except that multiple animal studies have been carried out which have found that genetic engineering is extremely dangerous and the consequences are unknowable. He also told you that 1.5 billion people in the world have serious health problems due to mitochondrial disease. This is simply not true, as mitochondrial disease is much, much rarer than this. He also told you that parents can make an informed decision as to whether genetic engineering of their children is safe. However, this isn't true, as Millie explicitly told you that nobody can consent to genetic engineering. The child cannot consent because obviously they're not born yet. The parent cannot consent because they're not informed. And the profession can't assure them that the procedure is going to work because nobody knows. The second negative also told you that mitochondrial disease must be prevented so that a mother can pass down their genetic material to their child. However, nobody has a right to pass on their genetic material to their child. There's other options for them, even if they're going to be infertile or pass on diseases that they don't want to their children. They could adopt an egg or adopt a child, and thus providing a vital service to society. When mitochondrial transfer has been tested by independent organisations with no ethics committee, there has been no follow-up. That means in the years since the genetic engineering has been performed, they could have developed symptoms related to their treatment. Genetic disease is a result of combinations of genes and might not show signs for generations anyway. And finally, the negative team has told you that it's best to genetically engineer your children because you should not leave such a dangerous part of life to Mother Nature. But there's so many other possible reallocations of resources. Rather than extremely costly genetic engineering, there should be more research into nutrition of the mother during pregnancy and womb conditions. In summary, my first speaker, Nate, spoke to you about the serious health risks of genetic engineering, which are severe and far-reaching, and that they are passed on to all of a patient's children. He also explained a dangerous application of genetic engineering, human enhancement, to create social caste. It may sound far-fetched, but the idea of making one's children more beautiful, intelligent, and skillful is seductive and tantalizing to those who can dream of affording it. Nate told you why such a system would be divisive and harmful to a society. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope you realise that genetically engineered babies not only should, but must be prohibited.
To conclude the negative case in this morning's debate, I call upon William Dodsworth.
Good morning, Chairperson, Opposition and audience. We're here to debate the topic that genetically modified babies should be prohibited. We, the negative team, strongly believe that this statement is false, as our first and second speaker have clearly proven. But before I go further into my speech, I would like to point out some errors in the opposition's arguments. The first speaker, the affirmative team, has tried to tell you that the use of genetically engineering could have unforeseen difficulties. This is wrong because although the opposition has quoted from several forum-type organisations, they have refused to back up this statement with hard facts and figures. It's also tried to tell you that using genetic engineering will create a genetic caste system in which poor children that cannot afford genetic engineering will be pushed aside and left in the dirt. This is wrong because this is purely spectacle and we have no way of knowing what will happen in the near distant future. The second speaker, the affirmative team, has tried to tell you that we have no right to give babies genetic engineering. This is wrong because, as our first speaker, Peter, has said, it is in the baby's best interest and human rights to receive genetic engineering. The second speaker of the affirmative team has also tried to tell you that how genetic engineering puts pressure on the child by their parents throughout their childhood. This is false because genetic engineering just simply cannot put pressure on children and is no way related to this topic. We're talking about babies here, not children. He's also tried to tell you that because 1 in thousands of cases has proven unsuccessful, that we should ban genetic engineering. This is false because although genetic engineering is safe, as proven by our second speaker, Sheila, there are always going to be something wrong, occasionally. The third speaker, the affirmative team, has tried to tell you that the disease microcardia is rare and often never appears in a person's lifespan. This is wrong because our first and second speaker have clearly proven through their points that microcardia is far from rare and readily affects people's lives. The opposition has also tried to tell you that GE technology is not safe, but this is wrong because, as our speaker Sheila has said, the UK authority have firmly backed this up with hard facts and figures. The opposition has also said that humans will make winged babies or scaled arms or have, jumping miles. This is wrong because, as our first speaker Peter has said in his definition, genetically engineering will only be used for medical treatment and the prevention of medically genetic diseases. The affirmative team has also tried to tell you that instead of genetic engineering, they should adopt a child. This is unfair to the parents because they may want to have a child of their own. The opposition has also tried to tell you that if we do not prohibit GE babies, they will allow the parents to modify them to create designer babies to ensure desirable traits such as high intelligence, more athletic, and more beautiful. This is false because, as the negative team, we have proven through our definition that genetic engineered babies will not be used as designer babies, but more for the preventing of medical diseases. Now, on to the rest of my speech. Our first speaker, Peter Mortius, has told you about how genetic engineering is part of a human's UN rights and should receive the possible highest level of medical care. He's also spoke to you about how the economic benefits of genetic engineering will help children throughout their lives. His final point was that he told you about how genetic engineering is a low-risk medical procedure other than stuff like geothermal. Our second speaker, Sheila, has told you about how genetically engineered babies should not be prohibited because genetic engineering will prevent genetic diseases and birth defects. He's also spoke to you about how the permission for genetically engineered babies is better than outright prohibition. He's outlined that GN babies are not safe and that natural reproduction is not unpredictable. So Chairman, Opposition and members of the audience, as you can clearly see through the strong evidence that me and my team have proven to you today, that genetically modified babies should not be prohibited because A, they're a part of the baby's human rights, B, genetic engineering will cure and prevent contagious diseases, and C, that prohibition will simply drive people to do drastic measures. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, while we're waiting for the final adjudication, can I just say, once that's done, there will be some official photos from the debating SA of both teams and individual teams, and then you'll be able to come forward as well to take your own photos. Please bear in mind we have another debate starting in 5 minutes. It's not going to start in 5 minutes, but please you understand that we need to move out as quickly as possible once those photos are taken, so that the next two teams can come in. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your attendance today, and let's congratulate both teams again for
I call upon a representative of the adjudication panel to come forward and award the debate.
I've got to be very quick here because Tony's going to kick me out of the hall soon. So, congratulations to both teams again, well done. Fantastic debate from both sides today and both very well deserved. Congratulations on getting to the grand final. Today, there was a unanimous decision amongst the adjudicators And today, we have decided to award the debate to the affirmative. So well done.
I call upon a member of the runner-up team from Prince Alfred College to give a vote of thanks.
Thank the audience for coming out. It's always better to face a room with lots of people than a room is empty. Yeah. We thank the affirmative team for their good arguments. It was really tense here, and we thank the chairman and the timekeeper for doing their roles well, and the adjudicators who adjudicate.
I call upon a member of the winning team from Pembroke School to second that vote of thanks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming along to a fantastic debate. It was great debate from both teams. I'd like to thank Debating SA for a fantastic season we've had. We certainly wouldn't be here without you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming along. Timekeeper, chairman, and adjudicators. And of course, the opposition. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attendance. I now declare this debate closed.